Time for tonight's rewrite. If you've been watching our continuing coverage of the debt ceiling crisis, you know who this guy is.
Why did the Senate vote 97-0, Chris? 97-0 against the president's budget. Why?
Sir,
why?
You signed. I'm just asking.
He didn't make any more sense when he was on this program. Would you have voted no on every one of the 18 Ronald Reagan debt ceiling increases?
Hey, Lawrence, I'll give you an honest answer. I don't know. What's interesting to me is...
So there might have been a debt ceiling increase that you would have voted for, just not an Obama debt ceiling increase.
No.
Freshman Tea Party Congressman Joe Walsh is everywhere these days, talking about how we have to get our fiscal house in order. He posted this on YouTube.
You don't like ultimatums? Tough. Here's my ultimatum. I won't place one more dollar of debt upon the backs of my kids and grandkids unless we structurally reform the way this town spends money.
I won't place one more dollar of debt on the backs of my kids. You know, there's no rule that says politicians have to mention their kids in their political rants about the national debt. As much as it's become a standard phrase, our children and our grandchildren will be paying this debt, that sort of thing, it is not mandatory speech-making language. It is a choice, a personal choice. Every politician who does that makes the personal choice to use their children for rhetorical effect. Once you start using your children as exhibits in political debate, once you start talking about the financial burdens they will face in the future, you have just opened the door to fair questions about financial burdens they may face now, especially if you are behind in your child support payments to the tune of $117,437. That's right. The man who says, I will not place one more dollar of debt on the backs of my kids, owes those kids, his ex-wife Laura Walsh, $117,437 in child support. Years of child support. Joe Walsh's lawyer offers this reprehensible defense. Joe Walsh hasn't been a big-time wage earner politician until recently. He's had no more problems with child support than any other average guy. Sounds like Walsh's lawyer is a specialist in deadbeat dads. Joe Walsh's lawyer, the champion of average guys and deadbeat dads everywhere, cannot explain why the supposedly financially struggling Joe Walsh was able to loan his 2010 congressional campaign $35,000. Nor can Joe Walsh's deadbeat dad lawyer explain how Joe Walsh got his hands on $35,000 to loan his campaign $35,000. Nor can Joe Walsh's deadbeat dad lawyer explain why Joe Walsh's campaign fund has paid him back at least $14,000 for the loan, while Joe Walsh hasn't paid the several years of child support he owes the mother of his first 3 children. Nor can Joe Walsh's deadbeat dad lawyer explain how the impoverished Joe Walsh was able to take vacations with his girlfriend in 2004 to Mexico and Italy while refusing to pay child support. In a court filing in December of last year, Laura Walsh's attorneys wrote, the apparent availability of large sums of money from either his employment, his family, or his campaign has allowed him to live quite a comfortable lifestyle, while at the same time, due to his failure to pay child support or any of his share of the educational costs or medical expenses, Laura and his children were denied any of these advantages. It is time to deny deadbeat dad Joe Walsh some advantages. In order to teach deadbeat dad Joe Walsh a lesson about family values, yes, the very same family values that so many Republicans try to exploit politically while failing to come close to living up to them in their own lives, deadbeat dad Joe Walsh is hereby banned from this program. He can go tell his lies about his family values and his sense of fiscal responsibility elsewhere. I can only hope that a ban on deadbeat dad politicians who lie about their family values will extend to all political television programs on all networks. But I can only control this hour. If you want to hear the ravings of deadbeat dad Joe Walsh, you will have to go elsewhere. Here is how any decent set of family values should guide a father who owes child support. First, pay whatever amount is legally agreed to or ordered by a court, and then constantly offer whatever additional help you can afford. Yes, buy the kids a new computer even though the court order says you don't have to, because you can do it. And because they're your kids. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Do it because you're not trying to get away with doing the least you have to do legally. You're trying to do the most you can do. That's what being a father is, doing the most for your children every day in every way that you can. Now, I will welcome deadbeat dad Joe Walsh back on this program on the night when he has done his duty to his first 3 children, and the mother of those children, Laura Walsh, certifies that Joe Walsh has made good on his child support debt of $117,437. Joe Walsh, deadbeat dad, has earned a burst of fame in the debt ceiling crisis by being a champion of the no-compromise school of governing, a champion of the childish and idiotic no-compromise Tea Party. We've seen what Joe Walsh is like as a no-compromise congressman. We've seen what he's like as a no-compromise husband. We've seen what he's like as a no-compromise ex-husband. And to our utter disgust, we now know what he's like as a no-compromise father.
I won't place one more dollar of debt upon the backs of my kids. I won't place one more dollar of debt upon the backs of my kids. I won't place one more dollar of debt upon the backs of my kids.
Family issues that I'm going to fight. Again, I know that story just broke, and it's interesting that it just broke right now as I'm out there trying my best to fight this president and fight the Democrats and solve this debt crisis. But look, I'm the most openly vetted candidate in the world. I have had financial troubles, and I talked about them throughout the campaign. This is where real America is.
Joining me now is Republican Congressman Joe Walsh from Illinois, a freshman lawmaker who was elected just last year with Tea Party support. So, Congressman, are Republicans using a gun against the American people in these budget talks like the president says?
Hey, Reverend Sharpton, good to be with you. You know, I got to just to start, I'm amazed he uses that type of an analogy. I mean, if a Republican talked that way, the media would jump all over him. The man's got no shame. Look, this debt ceiling issue, this crisis has got to be dealt with. And we're not holding a gun to anybody's head. But I am not going to place another dollar of debt on the backs of my kids and my grandkids unless this city structurally changes the way they spend money.
Well, wait a minute. No shame is, so therefore you're saying that it is not shameful for Republicans to say that seniors with Medicare and people that are poor with Medicaid should sacrifice, but people with private jets and with all kind of corporate loopholes, they shouldn't sacrifice? I mean, we're talking about shame here?
Again, Reverend Sharpton, the president's got your talking points. If I had $1 for every time he said tax on private jets, I'd be a millionaire. He does not understand, and I said this last week, the train has passed him by. He doesn't understand how serious this spending crisis is, and he has no clue as to what he's done to contribute to this crisis.
Well,
I know. That's good. Hey, come on. What do you? That's it. I mean, Congress Walsh. Yeah. Wait. Oh, look at. Oh, this is the worst television show in the history of television.